Hi everybody, my name's Julia from Bobbins and Buttons, and today I'm going to do a tutorial to show you how to make mitred corners. So I've specifically put this together to go along with my Lisa hooded top pattern, which has mitres around the hem at the bottom of the vents. So I've made a mock-up of the hemline of the Lisa hoodie, and if you are following this video for the purpose of the Lisa hoodie pattern, I'm also going to show you how to mark and sew the vent as well. So all I've done in preparation so far is just to overlock the edges of the side seam and the hem, and I've stitched the side seam together to the point to the top of the vents, which is marked on the pattern. If you are using jersey fabric, you can leave these edges unfinished. They won't actually fray. It's just a neatness thing inside. You could also use a zigzag stitch to finish if you haven't got an overlocker, or if you wanted a really beautiful finish you could bind the edges, but you might find the binding's a little bit bulky at the corner points on the hemline. It's probably just worth mentioning at this stage that this technique only really works on perfect right angles. It doesn't work on different angles. I have tried it on some different angles and it really doesn't work for anything other than a perfect right angle. So what I'm going to do first is just press the vents open according to the pattern markings, and I'm also going to press the hem up, and then I'll show you what we'll do next. So I've pressed the hem, and all I did was I checked the measurements according to the pattern, and I just double checked as I was pressing that the distance was correct on all of the hems and the side vents. What I've also done is I've pressed the hem on top on this side and the vent on top on this side, because it really doesn't matter which order. We just want to ensure we get really nice, sharp, clean press lines that we can see for the next part of the process. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open out the hem, and you can see all the crease lines, and I'm going to bring this corner in, and I'm going to match up the crease line of this corner triangle, or square rather, with the crease lines of the hem and the side vent, and I'm going to go and press that again so you've got this triangular shape in the corner. And the next stage is to bring these corners in and form the mitre, and then I'll press that again. But I would advise to press this first so that you've got another sharp line here before you then take the corners in and press it again. Because accuracy on this is going to be the key to getting a really nice finish. So those are now pressed, and you're starting to see how it's going to look when it's finished. The ends do look a little bit open, but that's partly to do with the bulk behind there, because there's quite a lot of bulk in this corner at the moment, but that's fine because we're going to stitch that together in a minute and trim it back, and that will sort that out. So I'll just show you again how that's worked. We've pressed the hem, we've pressed the vents according to the pattern, then we've pressed this corner in and pressed each back in place to form that mitre. So we are going to now open it up, and this bit feels a bit strange. We're going to take this triangle bit and we're going to fold it right sides together, and following the creases that form the sort of internal edge of that triangle, I'm going to pin those together, and that's what we'll sew. So I'm working right from that very point, which is actually this point here, out to the edge, and then I'm going to go and sew that. So it's like a triangle there. So I've stitched both of those corners, And now before I trim anything off, I'm just going to quickly turn it back through with all the bulk attached and just check how that's looking. It really is worth being really careful and checking all your angles as you go along at each stage on this, because just a little bit of difference can make things go a little bit wonky. But that's looking pretty good. I can tell it's lying flat, it's just the bulk under there that's pushing it out of place a little bit. So I'll go back in now and I'm just going to trim this off to the stitching line, leaving about 1 centimetre, and probably just take a little bit off the corner there to reduce the bulk, and then we can turn that through again. I'm going to try and open up that seam as I go. And there's our first mitered corner. So I'm going to do the same with that, and then I'm going to go and press it again, and then this time I'm going to pin around the vent and along the hem, and then I'll show you how I do the angles on the top of the vent. So that's pressed really nicely. I've just put a few pins to hold that in place. Because it's a really deep hem and I want it to look really nice and even on the outside, I'm going to draw a chalk mark around where I'm going to sew, and that will give me the opportunity to also mark the vent and get this nice and symmetrical on both sides of the garment. So I'm going to bring it in my trusty Pattern Master ruler. You can use any ruler with a right angle really, it doesn't have to be a Pattern Master. But I'm going to start by marking in the top of the vent point. So I'm going to mark a position about 1 centimetre above the opening there of the vent. And now I'm just going to decide where I want my line to finish, which really is just underneath the overlocking. So I'm going to measure that, and in this case it's about 4.5 centimetres. So I'm just going to mark, I'm going to use the right angle ruler here and mark a point sort of adjacent with one of these. They are actually slightly different, so I'm just going to use this one to follow, mark a point 4.5 in, just adjacent to that point. And then I'm going to close the vent and mark the same point on the other side. So that's squared across from that opening there. So now I have the corners for my vent, and I can join those together with a line that I can sew round. And then, because this ruler has the 5mm increments on it, I can use the 4.5 line and start just drawing in my seam allowance by following the 4.5 line, which is here, and I'm matching that up to the edge of the hem and just drawing that in. But if you don't have a ruler like this, you could just measure up the 4.5 and put a mark along the edge and then join them up. But now I've got a nice line that I can go away and follow for my sewing. And on the outside it will mean that the hem and the vent seam looks nice and straight and even. So here's the finished hem with the vent and the mitres. So this is the reverse, and then the right side looks like this. So there's our nice neat mitres. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. If you did, it would be great if you gave it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more tutorials, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.